Remember Transformers from 2007? If you don't, be prepared to have your memory jogged. Today we'll be going back through Michael Bay's Mechanical Mayhem to discuss the positives and negatives of the live-action Transformers debut. We'll be going through the film from beginning to end, tallying each moment worth savoring or forgetting because arbitrary metrics are fun to count. We'll basically keep a counter of all the positives and negative points of the film as we go through, eventually reaching a ratio by the end where we see how great, good, bad, or terrible this film is. Each point comes back to entertainment value, so all positives are things that add entertainment value, and all negatives take away from that. We'll do a final tally and see what the ratio is to see where the film stands on our scale of dung eater to cinema. See the chart for additional details. Then we'll go over the reception afterwards for additional context for the film's performance. This is going to be a boss rush of points to be made, so prepare for the wave of comments. With that, let's roll out. From the beginning of the film, we get special sound effects that add to the atmosphere during the Paramount logo appearance. We also get an impressive visual of the cube as it floats through space, showing us how large this thing is as it drifts across the stars. All the while, we have Optimus monologuing about the state of the Transformers War. This sets up the stakes and history efficiently before leading into the cube arriving at Earth, and Optimus saying they were already too late. Then we get the title itself, which plays on the theme of the Transformers gimmick and this franchise's version of it. Then we move to our first flashbacks as we see Lennox's team bantering back and forth, which doesn't work given the conversation is about alligator meat for some reason, which is just weird. Also, the English please joke arrives and does nothing because it's simply not funny. Later we get Lennox wanting to get home to hold his baby for the first time, which is relatable, and the interaction feels real and very human. Then we see soldier life across the base, which acts as an effective setup for all the lives about to be lost. Lennox's local friend makes an appearance, which helps tie things together during the survivors plotline, and what facilitates their movement from A to B as he acts as their lifeline and guide throughout the plotline. Then we get to the setup for Blackout, which works very well, as even the audio of him in chopper form is ominous given the deeper rumbles of his chopper blades. We also have the added intrigue because of the confirmation that this chopper was shot down months ago. As we have that on our minds, we see Lennox talking to his family, and we get a reminder of the humanity here and what's about to be lost. The dialogue between Lennox and his wife is crude, but fair to how people talk, at least in my experience. Then we get the signal jamming, ramping up the tension before the reveal. We also get the hologram glitch, which adds more tension before the attack actually begins. Then the assault begins in earnest as we get our first transformation and visual, which looks fantastic to this day. The camera being on the ground during most of this opening helps to accentuate how terrifying the Transformers can be. The sonic boom blasting the glass looks cool as well. The following wide shot showing Blackout wrecking the base demonstrates the power some bots have. Shaky cam does appear during this scene, which doesn't help a medium where the whole point is to see what you're failing to focus on. We get our up-close shot of Blackout, which looks great and gives a strong sense of scale. The view from Blackout's POV is a neat visual bonus. Not to mention his emotive bot sounds. Scorponok's ejection looks cool and establishes Scorponok's ability to dig through the desert sand. We end the scene on a violent visual of Blackout annihilating these major Air Force planes along with the people fleeing from him before we cut to black. Then we switch to human high school drama, which is very unnecessary for this story and becomes a recurring problem regarding bloat. Relevant story beats regarding Sam's relative being built into a school project help to keep things diegetic. Seaman and Sexton jokes land as high schoolers are immature, and many others can enjoy the jokes as well. Sam hawking his family's junk is very forced and seems like a stretch of believability that any high school kid would do this, as it's obviously embarrassing. The sound effect added for Sam's reaction to a B- is a strange addition. Sam's speech to convince his teacher for an A is kinda relatable, but mostly cringe. Sam's dad joking about getting him a Porsche is funny, and seems like something many dads would do for fun. Bumblebee coming without a driver behind them is a nice touch. Bobby Bolivia's staff humor is absolute cringe. Sam complaining about the cars there is relatable, as we usually want more than what we're offered for our first car. Bobby's family is also cringe for no reason. Bobby Bolivia is also cringe himself. B ruining the sale is a funny moment given the amount of property damage dealt to all the car windows in the lot. Next we have the Pentagon meeting that keeps things efficient and to the point, which helps to set up the Secretary of Defense and the hackers we're following. The discussion also sets the stage for the United States' current condition and operational status across the world following the Soxand base attack, adding a layer of tension to any movements made by the military that could cause tensions with other nations. We move over to Sam preparing to drive his car somewhere, and his life is relatable to an extent. High school awkwardness is relatable, but again, unnecessary. Mojo stuff is cringe and useless. Sam's parents can seem real, but can also be cringe. However, some of their dialogue is also good and believable. We get confirmation of the group of survivors in Lennox's squad, and this reminds us what was lost during the attack. The pseudo-techno-babble helps to establish otherworldliness of the bots given the aura around Blackout's exoskeleton. Spanish guy feels stereotype adjacent by this point when he sees things like his mom. Moving sand visual reminds us of Scorponok, but also implies stealth being an option for him. Scorponok's face looks cool as a bonus. The kid's involvement gives a clear indicator of their goal to reach his village and use a phone to contact the military with what they've found, clearly setting up where they're headed and why. We move over to Sam and Miles heading to the lake, and Sam and Miles' friendship is obvious. Miles is also cringe. We also have more high school drama bloat. Sam trying out for the football team doesn't mean anything except for this dialogue exchange and the following joke. Sam's lie about the paper on brain damage linked to football is a funny, creative, and roundabout way to insult the jock. Sam standing up to the jock is indicative of character, given he knows he'll probably lose. Michaela wanting to drive her boyfriend's truck and him saying no because he doesn't want her breaking it feels realistic, given he's a jerk. Michaela is also hot, which helps. Bumblebee being a wingman is funny with his choices for support. Sam leaving Miles behind for Michaela is bad for Sam's character, as it flies in the face of loyalty we see later on. Sam being awkward around Michaela is relatable and funny at times. Sam being awkward around Michaela does get overdone, though. Double meanings can be funny, but also work for Michaela's character and her relationship to her dad being explained here. B's song choices are also funny. The meta line drop was a neat touch that feels in character, given Sam's quick thinking but awkward approach. Moving to Air Force One, Frenzy hiding as a CD player is a cool way to demonstrate stealth and small bots' usefulness. Frenzy sneaking around is unrealistic in a crowded plane. Frenzy sounds very alien given his speech pattern. A flight attendant finding an unidentified CD player on Air Force One should be a massive red flag given that it could potentially be a bomb of some kind. When we see Frenzy next to the attendant, the difference between CGI Frenzy and practical Frenzy is blatantly obvious. Frenzy's CGI does look good though. Frenzy's ability to kill and stealth back exhibits his killing ability and disappearing act given his infiltration speciality. Frenzy not being seen when entering barricade feels unrealistic and plain stupid. Frenzy's final rant in the scene is frantic and funny given his eccentric motions. Sam chasing after Bumblebee shows his quick thinking and do-it attitude, memes aside. It's unclear what B is doing with the Autobot beacon as they send messages without them in the film. Sam's last confession is funny. Sam being chased by dogs helps display B's protective but covert nature toward Sam. Returning to the Pentagon again shows us how strong the bot's hacking ability is and how tough the virus planted is at data manipulation, and sets up Maggie as the main hacker to follow in this plotline. The Secretary of Defense is willing to listen to Maggie, but wants her to cool off on her rhetoric that their opponents are otherworldly, building his character to be reasonable, but with limits. This scene is largely just to set up Sector 7's knowledge of Sam's encounter with aliens, as the police report would be available, but it's 50-50 whether to cut it or not. I'm going to say it stays due to it clearly showing what Sam would have said about his car turning into a robot. If it wasn't here, we have to infer what was said during his police interaction from earlier, and makes other smaller moments more jarring. Next is the Scorponok attack scene, and it begins with Scorponok hitting the metal structure for no reason and revealing himself. Then we get another English please joke that isn't funny. Then we get something cool in Scorponok's attack from underground and skewering glasses guy. The music for the scene is also very good, so extra points for that. While the soldiers run, we get more shaky cam that doesn't help anything. Then we get a focus shot of the Scorpion erupting from the earth in slow motion, which looks great. It's weird how they put conflicting shots right next to each other. We see the locals coming out with guns, which is a neat detail implying they're going to help. Then we get Scorponok's full form as he takes his position for the battle. He looks great, and we get a good idea of what ranged weapons he has available. As the battle goes on, Lennox giving orders and the military teamwork in general is well done. The biggest failure of this scene is that Scorponok doesn't hide underground during this battle, or move from the one open spot where everyone can see him clearly. It's just a terrible strategic decision given what we've seen he can do before. When Lennox calls for help, the Indian tech support can be funny, but it absolutely ruins the pacing and tension of the scene. Scorponok's little roll helps to alleviate this, as that's kinda funny to see him roll over. The Epps credit card joke works where others don't, as it is contextually relevant for the story, and the interaction makes sense given the high tension of the moment it happens and the details within facilitating it. The military jargon when the strike team arrives sounds cool and realistic. We also see the weaponry used against Scorponok shows the bot's strength against bullet-type weapons, but weakness to superheated weapons like 105 Sabo rounds, giving us something we can use against them. After Scorponok is damaged, his retreat makes sense, but he just disappears for the rest of the movie, which feels like an unresolved plot thread, even given his appearance in film 2. The death sequence with Spanish Guy would mean more if he wasn't annoying up to this point. Next we get Maggie copying the files of the virus and getting out of the Pentagon without getting caught, which seems ridiculously unrealistic given the high stakes of the matter and how secure the Pentagon must be at this point given the context. Glenn is a weird character and can be funny. Other times he won't be though. His family can also be funny. The humor aside, Glenn's character just feels like bloat when we already had a group of hackers and we already had a main hacker character. Sam's attitude toward his car returning is crazy, but it's a crazy situation, so this works. Sam riding a girl's bike is funny. B driving on the sidewalk is stupidly conspicuous. Sam flipping right in front of Michaela is extremely convenient for story reasons. Where does B go while Barricade appears? Can he tell Barricade is a bot or not? He just disappears, so we get the interrogation. Barricade's revision of the police motto from "to protect and serve" into "to punish and enslave" is a nice touch. Barricade toying with Sam in the beginning also works as he's a Decepticon, so he probably enjoys the torture. He also looks cool. This interaction feels too public as Barricade is in broad daylight in the middle of a city. B coming in for the rescue when he should have been there earlier is a contrived way to have the interrogation lead into the chase scene. Speaking of the chase, it's pretty short and sweet. When we get a proper fight between B and Barricade, we get a great shot showing how good B looks in bot form. Later in the fight against Frenzy, Michaela going for a weapon is smart. Frenzy's head surviving is a neat touch per his character and for plot reasons, as the context for his spark being in his head is plausible given his lanky frame. Sam referencing the Transformers being Japanese because of how advanced they are is kinda funny. B communicating through the radio is a cool gimmick that is used well. His personality is also fun. Frenzy taking Michaela's phone's form is smart and fits with his mission. Michaela and Sam not sitting properly is weird for comedic effect, which doesn't really work as it doesn't make sense. B's reaction to Michaela's insult is funny. Doing a stunt before changing forms is funny, and the skin change is a cool mechanic. When we get to the Autobot arrival scene, the music here is quite good. The bots arriving through flaming balls of fire is cool, but could have killed someone given they crash in populated areas. The fat kid saying this is better than Armageddon is a funny meta joke. Each bot's form choice reflects personality, with Jazz liking style, and Ratchet being the medic, for example. The Tooth Fairy moment is kinda cute. Ironhide watching over the girl before her parents come out is a nice touch to show the Autobot's protective nature of sentient life. Optimus transforming for the first time and the spinning shot showing them all transforming is great. The CGI during this interaction looks fantastic. Each bot's intro line shows some form of character, with Jazz adopting an urban dialect, Ironhide referencing Dirty Harry, Ratchet making a comment about pheromones, B choosing a song section to pump his role up, and Prime being the obvious leader. Ratchet's mating comment is also funny. The backstory vision is a cool visual to go along with the lore dump. Megatron looks cool trapped in the ice. Witwicky backstory is an interesting attachment to Sam's history. Captain Witwicky being in the palm of Megatron's hand is an entertaining irony. Why does Megatron's navigation activate the way it does? This is just contrived for plot reasons. The brief scene with Scorponok's tail goes into detail for exactly how Transformers material is a self-regenerating molecular armor. It reacts to extreme heat, and provides a useful reminder of what weaponry we can use against them, with the characters taking full notice of this. The tail being autonomous to some degree is weird and doesn't go anywhere, so why include it acting up? Next is the donut scene, which is purely there for comedic effect, and it works for the most part. The virgin comment is cringe though. Not to mention how unnecessary the scene is in the grand scheme. Sam's parents are funny as they argue over how to punish Sam. Sam and his dad talking is funny given the context. The bot's not understanding subtlety and property damage is weird. There are several comedic beats during this scene. Mojo peeing on Ironhide is a funny joke. Sam having a no-go area of his room is relatable and funny. Frenzy being freaked out by a fish is also funny. The bot's quote-unquote hiding is also funny. Ratchet getting caught in the power line and his reaction is funny as well. Being sweaty and filthy as a child and teenager is a funny line from Sam. Sam's mom bringing up masturbation and that whole conversation make me want to cringe into a black hole. Sam's dad referencing a transformer is another funny meta line. Ironhide wanting to kill the parents because of how irritating they are is funny given his desperation for a fight. Most dialogue during the Sector 7 capture works. The radiation check is a neat detail to detect interactions with the bots. The scene shows Sam's phone doesn't have a camera, which fixes an issue one could have with the earlier scene where Sam sees B in bot form for the first time. Sam's reaction sound effect returns for some reason. Why is this here? Michaela's backstory dump serves to expand her character and explain some of the skills she picked up through working with her dad, who sold cars. When the bots appear, the magnetic grab of the guns is a cool touch. Sector 7's reaction to the bots is fair given their department and not knowing what to expect from aliens. B peeing on Simmons is crude, but funny. Simmons being forced to strip is unnecessary, even given Michaela was threatened by him. Sector 7 shirt is funny. Subordinate recording the whole conversation was a smart move. Ironhide sending a shockwave that only damages the car's tires is a cool trick. Why do the other bots transform and leave, but Optimus doesn't? Running around in public is extremely conspicuous and won't help when trying to hide. B is luckily driving toward Prime as Sam and Michaela fall. There's no reason for this, and is solely to facilitate him saving the humans and being caught. B saving them is good for character, but is facilitated through clunky setup. Capturing B is well done given the means they have to restrain and subdue him. B not fighting back is within character, given the Autobots' code to not harm humans. B's face is emotive during this capture, even given the limitations with the mechanics of their faces. Sam fighting for B is a good character moment for Sam. Sam dropping the glasses is convenient, but not implausible. The talk of military activity across the world helps to set the stage for what could happen if anyone makes a wrong move. The virus activation essentially freezes global troops in a high-stress situation. The virus also gives clear limitations for communication. The Mars rover footage looks cool and plays upon the alien sighting phenomenon that would be happening in this universe. The exoskeleton pictures are way too similar to be believable given the context of each. Then we get the groups and their plot lines coming together for the main plot, which is done efficiently. Sam's comment about buying a car that turned out to be an alien robot is also funny. During the Autobot discussion on their next move, Ratchet mentions sensing the Decepticons are getting ready to mobilize. How does he know that? This makes no sense how you could predict that given their activity in the film. From Blackout's attack to now, they've been doing as they do to look for the cube, so they're already mobilized, or they haven't found the cube yet. Either way, this line doesn't work. The only way this does work is if Ratchet read the script. The dialogue about humanity being primitive and violent, but still learning how to be better, is short but decent as a reflection of what we still have to learn. This scene also clearly sets up Prime's sacrifice to destroy the cube if necessary, setting up a plot beat for later and showing Prime's altruistic nature to protect humanity. Moving to the Hoover Dam, we start off with Frenzy falling down the dam, which is kind of funny to watch him lose his grip and scream on the way down. Simmons trying to restart with Sam on better terms is a good character beat to show he's got an empathetic side to him. Sam's first thought being B during his conversation is also good for his character as it plays on his loyalty and concern for B. We also have Sam negotiating for all his stuff and Michaela's record being wiped. This shows he's smart enough to bargain from the get-go and that he still cares about Michaela and her livelihood even after he learns her troubled home life and past. The info dumps during this section and the sharing of information between each group is needed and done diegetically and efficiently. Megatron leading to reverse engineering of tech is a neat idea, but used way too vaguely and doesn't actually matter in the context of this film. Sam picking up that Sector 7 has the cube is a good character moment, showing his perception skills. Comments about concrete protecting the cube from detection are immediately undercut when Frenzy sends out a message about 10 seconds after the line is said. Sure, they didn't detect it, but he sent that message out without so much as a Wi-Fi password needed, so it can't be that well protected. The cube regenerating Frenzy's body is a cool mechanic. The Decepticon mobilization is an efficient way to lay out the baddies quickly for the final battle and builds tension. Glenn's joke about Wolverine is inappropriate, which is in character for him, but is still annoying no matter how correct it is in context. If you set a character up to enjoy screeching like a goat, that doesn't mean the character screeching like a goat isn't annoying. If something is meant to be annoying when it didn't need to exist, you've added annoyance to your film. That's it. Simmons' comment about the Japanese and the comments made about the phone is just weird and meaningless. The test with cube radiation to create bots is a cool idea. The tiny bot is cute in a psychotic kind of way. The Decepticons get to the Hoover Dam extremely quickly. Yeah, Starscream is a jet, and therefore the fastest of the group, but he still appeared within a few minutes, which is blatantly unrealistic unless we are to assume he was at a nearby base, essentially being in the right place at the right time. On the plus side, Starscream looks great. He also makes a tactical move to attack the power system for the dam. Frenzy releasing Megatron works within his role as an infiltrator. The weapon fitting section shows Lennox will do what is necessary to get things done. The fate of the world on the Camaro line is funny and appropriate. B being defensive is understandable, but he also retains trigger discipline. B being able to condense the cube down into a smaller form is interesting, but implausible given the Transformers themselves don't have mass shifting. Lennox's plan to hide the cube in a city is disastrously stupid. Seeing Megatron wake up shows how cool his CGI looks given the alien design specifically for him. His ego also appears, as his first line after being frozen for thousands of years is, "I am Megatron." It also works as a form of intimidation, given it's the last words many will hear before he goes on his rampage. His vehicle form is an interesting design, given it's a Cybertronian jet. His mid-air transformation before blasting out the tunnel is a cool shot. The Morse code idea is also a good idea to get around the jamming from the virus. When the team hits the road, the link up with the Autobots is smooth, efficient, and the slide into the caravan is a cool way to facilitate this. When Frenzy attempts to enter the comms room, his lack of stealth seems like a contrivance to allow characters to know he's there and set up their fight against him. Getting back to the highway, Bone Crusher causing chaos on the road is very Decepticon behavior. When he transforms, he also looks cool. His skating around is a twist on bot movement in general as well. The Bone Crusher vs. Prime fight in front of the mom and the kid is funny given the boy thinks it's cool, but the mom is obviously worried about their safety. Prime vs. Bone Crusher is quick and brutal, showing Prime's weaponry and Bone's unique melee claw grab, along with the brutality of bot combat given this is the first bot decapitation death we see. Speaking of decapitations, Frenzy killing himself is absolutely stupid and a waste of a fight as the humans just annoy him until he kills himself. Now we get to the final battle, starting with Epps trying to communicate with Starscream, which makes sense as Epps doesn't know the jet he's talking to is a Decepticon. Ironhide and B using cover is helpful and sets up B being wounded and the stakes of the fight. I do have to ask, why was Jazz in car form this whole time? When Devastator/Brawl arrives, he acts as a good tough enemy to keep the main group busy as he is a tank, literally, and acts as one figuratively. Tanks would be beefy and heavily armored, so that helps to solidify his role in this fight as the enemy punching bag. Michaela going for the tow truck to help B is smart and uses her skills in a way that helps in the context of the situation. The CGI during this long sequence of fighting is very entertaining. Ironhide's slow-mo flips and roll are cool to see. Devastator/Brawl takes a beating but keeps getting up, showing how strong he is and what the Autobots are up against when fighting Decepticons. Megatron is intimidating given his size and power. We see this when Jazz's blast does nothing to him, but Megatron's blast flips Jazz over and damages him. Megatron killing Jazz helps to accentuate his ruthlessness, strength, and that if he has the option to fight hand-to-hand, he will do so. Lennox giving Sam orders makes sense given he's a civilian, but understands what's at stake, so he needs to play a role in this fight. Blackout coming in to attack and then transforming to escape is a cool gimmick with the flying Transformers in the movie. Practical B looks good enough to match with CGI B. Optimus vs. Megatron starts even, but slowly tips to Megatron's advantage as it goes on, building tension. The slow-mo through the building was a cool effect. Meg's weapon power level is accentuated by his weapon sounds. Prime's pistols and Meg's laser cannons accentuate different bots' weapon types and power levels. Blackout attacking Sam with a cube feels like a risk to damage or destroy the cube, which is obviously not what the Decepticons want to do. Starscream's entry and POV is cool to watch for action, scale, and tension when Sam is directly beneath him in the middle of a fight. Starscream not dropping in, grabbing the cube and Sam, and then fleeing feels like something he should have done if it's that easy to transform back and forth. Megatron flying away from Optimus to get the cube feels odd, as Megs is a brawler but runs from Prime even when he's clearly on par or better when fighting him. The random product placement in the movie is funny but totally unnecessary. Meg's intimidation is good given his dialogue, sound effects, and visuals around him. Michaela freaking out over the situation is good to show how stressful this is and how she's trying to hold it together. Michaela and B's charge is cool given this is B's upswing after losing his legs, and Michaela's upswing where she uses her criminal knowledge and contributes to a major threat being taken down. The camera during this can get a little shaky, but the charge still works decently. B's arsenal of weapons is also neat to see. Moving back to Sam, the chopper not seeing Starscream when they try to get Sam is just dumb. Sam standing up to Megs is a good character beat that somewhat calls back to when Sam stood up to the jock earlier and shows his conviction and bravery. Megs offering survival as a pet is indicative of his view of humanity and cruel nature in the event of this being a lie. Prime catching Sam and the ride down is cool to watch. Megs jumping straight for them maintains that brawler attitude that he's demonstrated throughout the film. Megs flicking a human away is funny. Prime talking to Sam when Megs is right there feels a little awkward given Megatron is like 50 feet away from killing them both. Lennox and humans killing Blackout is cathartic given what Blackout did in Qatar at the Soxent base. Why does Lennox use a bike for this kill? There's no reason to do this in the context of the film. Sure, it looks cool to get the slide kill, but it's facilitated by a completely random decision that makes no sense. Starscream going after the military jets is a cool visual and fight that serves a tactical use given the Decepticons' greatest threat at this point is the Air Force pelting them with high-heat weaponry. Megatron getting pelted himself looks cool, but is inconsistent in terms of damage dealt. Sam using his quick thinking to kill Megs after Prime mentions pushing the cube into his chest will destroy them both. This was set up earlier and acts as a payoff with a twist context that works given the situation and Sam's character. Prime saying Megatron left him no choice feels a bit awkward given the context of the situation. Prime didn't get the kill and was telling Sam not to do what ended up killing Megatron. The line just doesn't gel with what happened. Battle damage on Prime when he thanks Sam is a good detail to have for immersion. B's voice fixing itself is just lame. Ratchet's reference to working on it earlier and the fact that it fixed itself doesn't work together and just cheapens Ratchet's use beyond another body to throw at enemies. If you can't have the medic do medic things, you may as well not be the medic. The cube shard remaining is a useful setup for sequels. During the ending, we learn Sector 7 is being terminated, and I have to ask why. They had years of data on extraterrestrial life, not to mention studying Megatron and the cube specifically for years, and were shutting that program down. That's equivalent to shooting yourself in the foot after learning you could use that bullet to combat other threats that are coming. Terminating Sector 7 is just a stupid concept in general. Hiding evidence of the Transformers is also stupid, given the final fight was in the middle of a populated city and something will have been caught on camera, not to mention the thousands of witnesses. On the character side of the ending, Lennox gets his payoff where he gets to see his daughter, which is sweet. Sam gets with Michaela and gets to keep his cool alien hot rod, which is definitely a nice bonus to saving the world. We also get Prime's final monologue, which is cool to hear. It also sets up the arrival of other Autobots, and therefore a sequel. During the credits, we get two sequences. One is several cuts of Sam's parents making quirky comments during an interview, which can be funny. The other involves Starscream escaping into space, clearly setting up for a sequel. Now that we've gone through the film, let's get to the final score. We had 198 positive points compared to 89 negative points. This leads to a total of 287 points with a ratio of 69% positive. This plants the film firmly in rewatchable territory, almost making it up to Keeper. If this film was a little leaner and more focused, I believe it could have bumped up to Keeper given a few changes. But that's the rating it reached given this overcomplicated system I've created. Let me know what you think, and we can have fun arguing about it in the comments. Now let's talk about the reception to the film. Transformers has a Rotten Tomatoes score of 57% positive from 227 critics, and 85% positive from over 250,000 audience members. I'm using this metric because it's a fun thing to bring up given how strange the Great Tomato aggregate can be for certain films. Suffice it to say, Transformers was a crowd pleaser for the most part, and the critics had little sway in terms of turning people away from it. As you saw from the score I gave it, I don't agree with the critics. When we look at the financial side of things, the film made over $390 million domestically at the box office, over $389 million internationally, for a total of over $708 million worldwide. If we factor in domestic video sales, this pushes the project to over $1 billion in revenue. Not a small feat, and profitable when we reference the budget. This thing was made for $151 million, so it made over 4.7 times that at the box office alone. If we follow the traditional rule of three that tends to cover all production costs, marketing costs, and income based on different markets and theater revenue splits, this project easily made a profit in the hundreds of millions, not to mention merchandising. As we sit here, the break-even point would be around $453 million. As it stands, that's a $255 million profit from box office alone. This was enough to birth a new franchise of action movies between the box office take, the audience response, and the merchandising on top of it all. When it comes to my overall thoughts on the film, it's split across a very simple spectrum. A lot of the good stuff involves the bots, the military, and Sam's direct involvement with them. A lot of the bad stuff involves bloat that doesn't need to be there and cringeworthy moments. If I had the final say before filming began, I'd scrap a large swath of the human parts of the film that don't need to be as excessive as they are. Thin out the hacker, high school drama, romance, and family dynamic plot threads and focus on the military, Sam's ancestors' involvement with the bots, Sam's direct involvement, and the bots themselves. We don't need extra hacker involvement. We don't need high school social hierarchy. We don't need a love interest in the film for Sam. We don't need his parents to be involved in the movie. And we certainly don't need to spend so much time away from the thing that is the namesake of the film. To put it simply, a more focused cut of this film would rely on Sam's direct involvement with the bots. This would exclude the excessive additions of his love life, his family life, and his social life in high school. Not to mention the extension of the hacker plot thread just because comedy funny. Cutting all this extra fluff out would make the film a leaner and meaner one, probably under 2 hours, which would keep the pace up and allow for more showings at theaters. The ratio of getting what we want to see would go up as well as the chances for revenue. It feels bloated largely due to it trying to be a blockbuster, which typically comes with a mishmash of different elements to appeal to as many people as possible. This is self-evident given what we went over in this film. Overall, I have a good time with this movie, but there are several moments where I want to skip past the fluff that doesn't need to be there, or go on for as long as it does. Again, a leaner and meaner cut would benefit this movie, and I can't say that enough. Well, that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, or at least found it entertaining. This was a bit of a new idea that came about after reconsidering how I wanted to make these remembering videos. I enjoy Random Film Talk's way of going through something scene by scene, but I also wanted to quickly go over the positives and negatives while keeping the pace of the video high. Then I wanted to incorporate a numbers game and a Jeremy Johns style ranking system. Things turned out pretty well as these can be made relatively quickly, and I can mix and match things I like from other content creators. Look forward to a Revenge of the Fallen video at some point, as I plan to cover all the live-action films in this series. I'm looking to tackle each franchise I want to discuss one at a time, so bear with me as we get through the Transformers series first. If you'd like to check out my other stuff on my other channels, there are links in the description. They are pretty self-explanatory, so have a look around if you want something other than critical analysis. Also check out the Discord if you want to make suggestions for stream reactions or games to check out. I do pop in from time to time to see what's up in the community. For now, thank you for watching, and God bless.